Now, anyone who's been on the internet for the past week or so has been aware of the release of Cyberpunk 2077 and the following actions and backlash. If you haven't been in the loop, however, pretty much the game comes out and it is quite buggy and unpolished, especially on last-gen consoles, PS4, and Xbox One. CD Projekt Red, the developer, even issues an apology and refunds for console owners of the game. There are some issues with this, however. There was no official deal or negotiation with Microsoft or Sony regarding refunds. This means you have to go through their generic refund system for every other kind of game. The problem lies in the fact that they are not very good at that. I've never owned a PlayStation myself, but apparently the refund system is virtually impossible to actually get to work. This has led to the game being taken off the virtual shelves of PlayStation. This means you can't even look at or buy Cyberpunk on PlayStation right now. I've never refunded an Xbox game virtually, but apparently it's not that good neither. Even on PC the bugs are quite apparent, they just aren't as much of an issue compared to console. Now this really begs the question, why is a game that's been a thing since the Xbox 360 and PS3 era so unpolished and buggy that the main audience can't even buy the game? While PS4 and Xbox One are technically last-gen consoles now, the stock situation and availability of the Series X and PS5 made it very apparent that the main console audience will be playing on last-gen systems for quite a while. This means there is no excuse on why last-gen is so bad. It would be quite redundant to ignore the quality and bugginess of last-gen if everyone's playing on it. This isn't a rare thing to see in video game industry nowadays, and it has been a thing for a while now, which is quite alarming and pretty disrespectful to the consumer. Basically what I'm talking about is releasing a patch a couple months or a year or however long and fixing up a game whose main issue was bugs. To start, I'd like to contrast the perception of games released before this was a thing. Think about games like Sonic 06 or Duke Nukem Forever and what they have in common. They were released unpolished and buggy, hampering the overall gameplay and perception of the game. Some of these games like Sonic 06 have since then been considered the worst in their respective franchise and to this day have still not lost that stigma. Unfortunately, they were released during a time where this wasn't the norm. It wasn't normal to wait half a year to a year for a game to actually be what it should have been at launch. We could contrast this with Fallout 76, a game that was released buggy but has since then been updated to be a much more polished game. Fallout 76 nowadays is much more polished and has been technically improved very much so since release. The game had very negative stigma surrounding it at launch. Many would have called it the worst Fallout or Bethesda game ever made. Give it about a year or so and the game is now drastically improved, and we've seen this same formula used so many times before. Destiny, No Man's Sky, Avengers, Division, Anthem are all games that have been given second chances months after release to rectify their mistakes of a bad launch. It shouldn't take over half a year to get the $60 worth out of these games, however. It shouldn't be the norm to wait that long for your AAA title to actually be worth the money. You might as well wait half a year now and buy the game at half price if you want to get your money's worth. Game companies have been getting away with this because of the people, us. We don't effectively protest against it. There's a massive difference between internet noise and what people are actually doing. No matter how many angry Reddit posts or Game Informer articles call EA and Activision the worst publishers of all time, which companies end up selling the most games and generating the most income? That's right, these same companies. There's a lot of truth in saying speak with your wallet. There's no reason for these publishers or developers to change their formula when they still make great revenue off of people. People have been willing to buy the full-priced game at launch, expecting a finished product and then returning months later when they fix the game to the standard it should have been released at. I am a Smite player and I play Avengers. I am no stranger to seeing so many posts saying, "This game is dead, this game is dead, there's no sense in playing this game, I'm leaving this game, I'm leaving and never coming back." If you counted all of the negative posts regarding unfinished and unpolished games, you would assume that they are dead and that there's no reason to even try and fix them. But lo and behold, wait a few months for a big update to drop and most of the people criticizing the game announcing their departure end up coming back and spending more money. A system like this will only get worse the more you really feed into it. Games used to be expected to come out full quality and fully complete on launch day. Imagine if the midnight release of Modern Warfare 2 or GTA 5 was this bad. That was unheard of now in those days. But now it's more so a 50-50 chance if you're gonna have to wait a couple months for the game to be what it should be at launch. It is quite lazy when you look at it. Cyberpunk has next to no complaints regarding the actual game itself. 99% of the criticisms are just about bugs and how people can't even play the game. I am one of the many people who's played and beat Sonic 06, and quite honestly, most of the issues really do just come down to polish and bug issues. There are definitely some fair criticisms to things such as the story, but if the game was released more polished and with next to no bugs, people would be calling it Sonic Adventure 3, and if you're not someone who knows about Sonic, that is a very high honor. That is a very good thing. Imagine if games from the past were given this second chance at life and how we perceive them now. Assassin's Creed Unity was also very negatively received at launch, mostly just due to bugs. Despite its legitimately good gameplay, people were hating on it, calling it the worst Assassin's Creed game ever. Imagine if it was able to get a patch out half a year later fixing all the bugs and now everyone can change their mind about the game. Disputing whether or not it's the fans, the publisher, or the developers at fault, it is still a bad practice that is unfortunately the norm. This isn't a shot at CD Projekt Red neither. While they have made some dumb decisions in this whole entire fiasco, they're more or less following the business model that's been proven to work. Unfortunately, this does seem to be a common trend that we are working towards, but hopefully a change will happen and there will be no more worry on whether your $60 AAA title is actually worth the money at launch.